So in order to write this in vertex form, we want our final answer to be in y equals a x minus h squared plus k. And we know how to do this using the complete the square method, or using negative b over 2a and converting it to vertex form, but we can also do it using completing the square. So in order to complete the square, we need to add 6 to both sides so that we do not have a c value anymore. And we are going to complete the square using b over 2 squared to add our own c value. So b over 2 would be 4 over 2 is 2, squared is 4. And if we add 4 to this side, we also need to add 4 to this side. Now over here we'll have our perfect square trinomial, which will be x plus 2 times x plus 2, which we can write as x plus 2 squared. And over here we'll have y plus 10. Now this looks a little bit more like vertex form. We just need to get y by itself now. So now we have y equals x plus 2 squared minus 10. And our a value here is 1. Now it's in y equals a x minus h squared plus k vertex form. Alright, so we also need to know how to do this if we have an a value, because you can't complete the square if you have an a value. So here is an example of something with an a value. Y equals 2x squared minus 6x plus 1. Now, same thing here. We need to get rid of our c value. So we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. We get y minus 1 equals 2x squared minus 6x. And now our issue here is that we have this a value. So we're going to have to factor that out. So y minus 1 stays the same, and over here we're going to factor out our a value, so we'll get x squared minus 3x. Now we're going to complete the square so that we can get our c value here. But before we do that, we're going to have to divide by 2. So if we divide both sides by 2, we get y over 2 minus 1/2 equals 2, or sorry, just regular x squared minus 3x. Now we can complete the square by doing b over 2 squared. So that would be negative 3 over 2 squared would give us positive 9/4. And if we add it over here, we also have to add it over here. So over here, we get a perfect square trinomial, which is x minus 3/2 times x minus 3/2, or x minus 3/2 squared. Over here, we have y over 2 minus 1/2. And, or sorry, not minus 1/2. We also have to add our 9/4. So negative 1/2 plus 9/4. This would be 2/4. Negative 2/4 plus 9/4 is going to give us 7/4. Now, what we have to do is add or subtract 7/4 to bring it back over to this side. And then we have to multiply the whole thing by 2 to get y by itself. So when we do that, we end up with, paper here. We end up with the 2 canceling out y over 2, so we get y equals 2 x minus 3/2 squared minus 7/4 times 2 would be minus 7/2. And that is our final answer. Now that's of course a lot more difficult than the original one because we have this a value here, but the steps are pretty much the same. You get rid of c, you factor out the GCF, and you divide both sides by that GCF to make our A value just 1. Then you follow the same steps from there, and then at the end you have to multiply to get y back by itself.